What happens is after a while, you start, I guess your ego goes nuts, and you say like in July 2024, Eddie Murphy had everything. A new wife, 2 young kids, and Hollywood begging him to return. Then something shifted. Friends notice Ed looked tired at recent events. He's been turning down massive movie deals. His team says he wants to focus on family. But those close to Murphy know there's more to the story. Something happened that changed everything for the 63-year-old star. What he's facing, Athom explains why he's saying goodbye to the spotlight. This isn't about retirement. The reason he's saying goodbye will shock you. He was born on April 3, 1961, in a corner of Brooklyn that sounded like gunfire at night. Bushwick didn't feel like childhood. It felt like survival. The elevators didn't work. Rats ran under broken lights. And little Eddie Murphy sometimes crawled under his bed when the weekend shootings got too close. His mother, Lillian, worked 12 hours a day as a telephone operator for just $125 an hour. That wassail they had to survive on. His father, Charles, did 2 jobs. Transit cop by day and a broke comedian by night, performing for $15 to $20 in smoke-filled clubs that left his uniform smelling like stale whiskey and burnt cigarettes. When Charles came home at 3 a.m., sometimes Eddie could hear the coins jingle in his pockets before he even opened the door. Then, in 1964, when Eddie was 3, everything split. The money wasn't enough. The drinking got worse, and the screaming through the walls made neighbors uncomfortable. Divorce was final, but it didn't make anything easier. Lillian took Eddie and his older brother, Charlie, and moved them into the Roosevelt housing projects on Long Island. 1,400 families lived in that concrete jungle. Their new world was made of cracks, broken heaters, and Thiessen government cheese grilled night after night. The welfare check was $178 a month. Rent took most of it. Some days they had just $3 left for food. Milk was diluted with water. Cornflakes floated in tap water. There was one pair of decent shoes between the 2 boys. Winters were cruel, and Lillian had no choice but to let them sleep in coats. Outside, the gangs came out before sundown. So, Lillian told her boys to come in before 4:00 p.m. and not to look back. Then came 1965. Eddie was 4 when Lillian collapsed. Coughing blood, tuberculosis, 11 months in isolation. Eddie and Charlie were dumped into foster care. They were placed with a woman named Viola Jenkins, 67 years old, feared in the neighborhood, paid $140 a month per child, and barely fed them $20 worth of food. Oatmeal for breakfast, peanut butter for every other meal. They weren't allowed to move. If Charlie opened his mouth, he got whipped with a leather belt. One day, Eddie talked back. Jenkins locked him in a dark basement closet. At night, they shared a thin blanket on a single mattress while cold air poured through broken windows. No one came to help. Teachers saw the bruises but said that fear, that silence later became Eddie's material. The angry authority figures, the screaming aunties, the ridiculous adults he would imitate on stage. The pain stayed with him, but so did the memory. By 1970, Eddie was 9, and what little father had left vanished for good. On November 12, Charles Murphy was shot dead outside Mickey's bar over a $50 card game. The killer walked away. Knockargs, no witnesses wanted trouble. Charles was gone at 30. He left behind $800 in gambling debt. Lillian had to borrow $600 from the church just to bury. Eddie found out at school when kids pointed and whispered. The open casket showed 3 bullet holes. That image lived in his nightmares for years. Therapy he never expressed came out later on stage as deadbeat dad characters the audiences laughed at without knowing they came from real grief. In 1971, something changed. Lillian married a man named Vernon Lynch, who worked 14-hour shifts at Breyer's ice cream plant, making $165 a week. It was triple watch made. They moved to 1037 Washington Avenue in Roosevelt, and for the first time in his life, Eddie had his own room. Vernon didn't try to replace. He won Eddie over with magic tricks and Yankee tickets. Eddie still resented him at first, breaking rules and refusing to call him dad. But Vernon was patient. He came home tired, arms stained with vanilla mix, always carrying leftover ice cream cups. It helped. The new neighborhood had more kids like Eddie. His mixed heritage still got him teased, but he began to find his rhythm. He did impressions on the block, charged 25 cents, and mattered more than ice cream money. At age 10, he felt something spark. By 13, he had saved $47 and bought a Sony tape recorder. He spent 4 to 5 hours every day doing voices. Elvis, Bugs Bunny, Richard Pryor. He'd record a joke 20 times, study it, redo it until it hit perfect. He wasn't interested in school. In 10th grade, he only showed up for 60 days. He failed math, science, and English, but he got A's in drama. His teachers said he was disruptive. His classmates said he was the funniest kid in school. He got in trouble for impersonating teachers during lunch. Vernon threatened to take away the tape recorder. Lillian didn't let him. She saw something real. And then came the day that changed October 1976. He was 15. He skipped school and crocheted a local talent show in Roosevelt. He wasn't there to tell jokes. He wore Charlie's oversized jacket and a clip-on tie. He sang Al Green's Let's Stay Together. The crowd of 200 teenagers screamed. When the host handed him 12 Vow in wrinkled singles, it felt like a million. He went home and stayed up all night writing jokes on napkins. He couldn't stop. It became an obsession. Every Friday night in 1977, he lied to Lillian and said he was going to Thelabree. Instead, he took the 7:15 p.m. train into Manhattan. It cost $8.50 to round trip, just enough for a ticket and a Coke. He found the comic strip on East 81st, a smoky basement full of broken dreams. On March 18th, he finally went up. His set bombed. Stories about foster care. No one left. He panicked, rushed, forgot his own jokes, but he kept coming back. Every Friday for 2 months. He wrote his crazy anti-material. On May 27th, that same joke brought the house down. The manager gave him a regular Tuesday slot. Then came the gong shows up. In July 1978, Murphy entered a brutal amateur night at Westbury Music. If the crowd hated you, they slammed a gong and dragged you off. 2-3 comics performed. Only 3 made it to 5 minutes. Eddie was one. His routine was about Vernon's military-style house rules. The crowd loved it. He got $25. People started calling him the kid who won't quit. He barely graduated high school. He walked the stage 2 months late on August 15, 1979, voted most popular in the yearbook. He imitated 3 teachers during his 47-second speech. By September, he enrolled at Nassau Community College for He showed up to 12 classes. Then, on October 3, 1979, he walked into the registrar's office and dropped out. Told them, "I'm going to be on TV by Christmas." Lillian didn't speak to him for 3 weeks. That same month, he got a regular spot. Governor's Comedy Club, 3 nights a week, $35 a night. At 18, he lived at Catch, a rising star. The club became his home. One night, he did a 5-minute audition inside the club's bathroom just to get a spot. It worked. In December 1979, he found something by accident. While impersonating his neighbor, Mrs. Williams, his voice cracked. Instead of stopping, he leaned into it, exaggerated it, and created a high-pitched nasal falsetto. The audience lost it. He started building whole routines with falsetto voices. His old church lady became a crowd favorite. Scouts from the Jeffersons came 3 times. He auditioned, but got rejected. He was just 21 when he walked onto his first movie set. It was December 1982, and the film is 48. Most people thought it would be a regular cop drama, but Eddie Murphy changed it the second the camera rolled. He was cast as Reggie Hammond, a convict, forced to team up with Nick Kroll's tough cop. The director, Walter Hill, had warned Nolly that working with Eddie would be like working with a little kid or a dog. "Just hope for one good take," he said. But Eddie didn't need luck. His charisma was real. His confidence came straight from Saturday Night Live. He and Knoll tossed the script aside and improvised most of their scenes. That unscripted magic pulled Thestery out of formula and turned it into something fresh. The movie made $78.9 million and ranked 8th in 1982. The buddy cop genre was never the same, and Hollywood had a new star. Eddie didn't come cheap. Even for his first role, he got $450,000. Knoll got $1 million. But for an unknown actor, that kind of paycheck meant the studio already knew they had something rare. Eddie used it to buy his mama who's in Long Island. Walter Hill had actually wanted Richard Pryor, but Pryor's fee was too high. Eddie Washeeper, but not for long. By the time they made another 48 Cheaters in 1990, the numbers flipped. Eddie made $7 million. Knoll made $3 million. The shoot wasn't easy. They filmed in San Francisco, and Eddie was still adjusting to acting in front of a camera. He came from sketch comedy, not drama. There were whispers on set that he might get fired for not being funny enough. They never told him that. Hill stuck to his take whatever good take he gives and move on. Then they got to the Torches bar scene. Eddie walked into a room decorated with Confederate flags and flipped the entire movie on its head. His performance was electric. Everyone watching knew he just rewrote the rules. Off camera, he and Nolly Beckham, a real team. Every day they pushed Hill to change parts of the script, and those changes made it better. Eddie was the first black actor since Sidney Poitier to headline a major studio film like that. The first time since the 1960s that a studio said yes to a black lead who wasn't part of a message movie. Some Southern theaters refused to promote it. So Paramount turned to urban markets, where Eddie's Saturday Night Live fame gave them a boost. By 1983, Time magazine pointed out that 3 of the year's 6 top hits starred black actors, and Eddie West won, breaking open the box office. He didn't just change casting, he showed with studios that black actors could lead action comedies, too. After filming, Fighting Room gave Eddie more power. He overdubbed lines, polished jokes, and made sure Reggie Hammond stayed street smart. Walter Hill, the same man who doubted him, now said Eddie would be as big as Pryor. The truth was, Eddie's instincts were sharper than most writers in Hollywood. His years on live television trained him to find a joke in anything. That gift gave him control over future scripts. The studios weren't just paying for a name anymore. They were paying for his brain. Then came Trading Places. In 1983, Eddie stepped into one of the wildest scenes of his. He crashed a country club dressed like a Swedish exchange student pimp named Lionel Joseph. Platform shoes, fishnets, fur coat, gold teeth, fake accent. He made it up on the spot when the director told him to invent the most ridiculous disguise he could. It took 47 takes because everyone kept laughing. Even the security guards on location tried to kick him out, no recognizing him in costume. The film made $90.4 million off a $15 million budget. Eddie got his first Golden Globe nomination, and just like that, he was no longer the guy from Saturday Night Live. He was a movie star. The finale of Trading Places came from a real-life scandal. In 1979, the Hunt brothers tried to manipulate the silver market. Eddie read about it at the New York Public Library, studying trading patterns and reports. He and Dan Aykroyd's characters in the film used Insider Info to make $394 million off orange juice futures. They filmed this thing at the real New York Mercantile Exchange. Traders were paid $200 each to extras, and they taught Eddie actual hand signals used on the floor. When orange juice drops from $142 to $29 in the movie, it mirrors real. Eddie improvised, "Looking good, Billy Ray," and it became a cultural catchphrase. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission even used clips from the movie to train people about market manipulation. Then came Beverly Hills Cop. It was supposed to star Sylvester Stallone as a serious cop, but Stallone quit. In 6 weeks, the script was rewritten for Eddie. He didn't just take the role, he transformed it. The movie earned $234.8 million on a $15 million budget. That's a $1,565 return. The theme song, Axel F., hit number 3 on Billboard and sold over 2 million copies. The banana in the tailpipe gag wasn't in the script. Eddie modded up during filming, and Judge Reinhold broke character laughing. The film inspired 47 remakes and 12 TV shows around the world. Detroit police visited set just to meet him. Eddie didn't just star in the top movie. His comedian was also number 1. Nobody had ever done that before. But Eddie didn't want to look like a Beverly Hills Cop. He refused the original costume designs. No suits, no He wore his own leather jacket, jeans, and sneakers. Production shut down for 3 days. Costume designer Deborah Nadelman had to redo everything. Eddie's jacket cost $35 from a thrift store. His sneakers were Nike Air Force Ones, one of the first major film product placements for the brand. That look forced script changes to now. They wrote scenes where he mocked golf courses and Beverly Hills snobs. Director Martin Brest later said Eddie's outfit made the whole movie feel real. That casual Detroit cop became vassal of the story. Eddie's pay jumped from $200,000 to $8 million by the time they made Beverly Hills Cop. But behind the scenes, the studio had tried to soften Axel Foley's character. They rewrote the script to remove racial jokes and tone down the urban feel. Eddie found out. He threatened to quit unless they restored lines about profiling and let him control the tone. He hired lawyer Skip Britnam for $500,000 to handle it. The studio gave in. He also made sure black crew members were hired. Minority representation jumped from 3% to 23%. He demanded final script approval for future sequels. The studio nearly shut down the film, but caved. Eddie became one of the first to push back against whitewashing and win. Then came The Storm. In 1983, his Red Leather Delirious stand-up special landed hard. It had 23 minutes of anti-gay jokes. Used slurs 47 times. GLAAD protested outside 127 theaters. Theater chains in New York, LA, and San Francisco pulled Beverly Hills Cop from 89 screens. HBO canceled 3 airings. His publicist quit. Paramount thought about dropping him from coming to America. He lost $12 million in sponsorships, including Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg joined the protests. Eddie eventually apologized in 1996 and gave $100,000 to GLAAD. The special was trimmed by 18 minutes in later releases. But bootlegs still spread. The damage was done. Eddie Murphy walked into Madison Square Garden on July 14, 1987, wearing a red leather suit, so loud it almost spoke before he did. But once Hester did talking, the room of 18,000 couldn't look away. That night, Bacamera, a 90-minute shockwave that tore through comedy. Nothing was off limits. He mocked his aunt's dating life, slammed family members, and